Warning, bit of a spoiler alert here, if you care at all about ever watching this movie that came out in 2019. I will be ruining a bit of the plot, and it will be a little bit of a spoiler, but I'm not going to give it all the way away, okay? But if you just hate that kind of thing, you might want to skip. There was this movie called I Am Mother. I don't know how popular this movie was or how well known it got, how many people saw it. I have no idea. I know I liked it. But the plot is not one that we haven't seen commonly. But first, more specifically, the plot for this movie. It's set in futuristic times, and the idea of it is that main character, we know her as Daughter. She is the last living human being on Earth because they are nearly extinct, except for her. She's the only one left. And she lives in this big warehouse-like building that she calls home. But she's not alone there. You come to find out not too far into the movie that Mother is also there with her. And Mother is basically like an advanced futuristic version of Siri or Alexa, and is the mother to Daughter. Mother helps Daughter get through the different areas of the building. She's raised her up since she was a baby, and she takes care of her, and she can also run building functions. She's like the home system as well. We find out Mother is an advanced level AI who ended up turning against her other counterparts, her other fellow robots, because they are out there in the world right now, taking over Earth, demolishing everything that humans ever built. They wiped out the humans. There's only robots. And the humans all would have died out except for Mother.
Aww.
She happened to collect the lifeblood, the essential ingredients to continue making embryos, or to make at least 2 new embryos, so that she could rebuild the human race. And she has dedicated herself to doing that. So she is in these protected walls of this building that she has created with her systems. And the outer world is completely toxic for human beings. So Daughter cannot leave the protected barriers of the building. Mother keeps her safe. Mother has taken care of her since an embryo all the way up to where she is now as a young woman or maybe a teenager. Now Mother's making her brother. So she's going to have a son. And so there's going to be 2 of them. And then she's going to instill in them the proper values and the proper teachings that she's aware of, that she knows will sustain the human race this time. So she's doing a great thing for Daughter. A great thing for Daughter's people, and a great thing for humanity. So, obviously, Protagonist, or at the very least, Protagonist's caretaker. The hero, pretty much, right? Everything's going good, okay? What a lovely AI movie of, rebuilding the planet, and then, some ways into the movie, Daughter's entire understanding of reality is flipped upside down when an injured stranger stumbles into the infrastructure of the building at one of the entrances and needs her help. This instantly forces Daughter to have to confront the fact that Mother has absolutely, without a doubt, lied to her. Instantly. That all goes down the tubes because Mother has told Daughter more times than she could count that she's the only human being still alive, that her entire species was wiped out, does not live anymore, that she is the only one and that she created her. And here, right in front of her, is something that unequivocally challenges that belief and forces her immediately to confront the fact Mother lied to her. Mother is actively lying to her and has lied to her her entire life. Because here, in front of her face, is proof that there is another human being. It's right there. And she needs her help. She's injured. She's been shot. So enter Hilary Swank, who in the movie they know as Woman, is the name. They have really creative names in this movie. Very creative. Daughter, son, mother, woman. Daughter, I don't remember exactly how it happens, but she has to think fast. This woman needs her help. She opens the infrastructure. She opens the doors that they're airtight. They're not supposed to be opened ever. But I think there's this you know how when you come in, remember when we were all on quarantine and we were in COVID and it was a hellacious time, and sometimes people would have their front porch enclosed area, and you come in, maybe you take off all your stuff and decontaminate yourself, and then come in the next door because you've closed the door to the outside, and then you're in this area that's accessible to the outside and accessible to the inside, but it's an intermediate area, right? Okay, I don't know. And so the woman had gotten in there somehow. That's where she was. That's where she was injured. And so Daughter is trying to help her, and she doesn't usually go out that far, but she can go out there. But when she comes out, somehow there is some type of leakage of the outside air. So trying to help this woman, daughter comes in contact with the outside air all of a sudden. And so there's lie number 2. Boom. She knows mother's been lying to her about that too. Because she's been told her whole life that the instant she breathes the outside air, she will immediately die. It's poisonous, it's toxic, and it will kill her. That's why she's never left the building. She would instantly die. But that's not true, because here she is. The air is coming in, and she is not dying. Not at all. She feels fine. This is the moment in the movie when the viewers discover the plot twist. That their beloved hero, Mother, is actually the villain. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Shocker of a century. Those are always so jarring for me. And I'm sure you can think of many other movies and examples of when this has happened, because it's a common theme, like I said. I like to relate this specific type of plot twist to the way that we stumble across some hard realities about our subconscious mind once we reach adulthood, and the discoveries that we make about its true agenda in our lives. So the purpose of your subconscious mind is to retrieve, process, and store data, so much data that you couldn't possibly handle with your conscious mind while going about your everyday activities. You could not do it. It would not be possible. It's a beautiful thing. It takes care of your most critical and important functions of your body, although often the very mundane ones. Like, it handles things like breathing. It handles sleeping and organ function. Things you definitely don't have to think about to do. It's just happening because your subconscious mind takes care of it. So that's so useful. But it also handles a tremendously overwhelming amount of data over the course of your life. So much. And it takes care of that massive amount of data by creating a patterned framework that it has subjectively mastered, tailored to you, very specifically, from your childhood, from your very first days. And it is tailored to the things that you've experienced and the things that it's learned to be of use to you. By doing so, it can handle such a large amount of information and data very quickly, because it's just referring back to that framework. It's just using the framework to figure out how to react. That's it. So it doesn't have to come up with anything new. Any new information that's coming in, it's just going right through the framework. So this looks like that. Okay, this is how we react to that. This is the motion that we feel for that. This is how we handle that. It's always going to go by the patterned framework. Always. And it's not going to pass by your conscious mind most often. Your conscious way of thinking is not involved in that process most of the time. It only gets to witness the outcome. All feels justified and normal as it happens, because your brain is just continuously reassuring you all is right with that functionality. All is running as according to the framework. That is why your reactions feel so right to you. Your beliefs feel so right to you. You have a bias that tends to think that you're in the right, that you have behaved correctly. That is because your brain, it's running it through its framework. And when it goes by the framework, it knows to send signals that everything is at peace, everything is in homeostasis, you are running properly. Your brain is going, yep, you did that right. Yep, you said that right. You had to say that. That makes sense. You were correct in that situation. You didn't do anything wrong. All is going accordingly. So anything that goes wrong in that outcome is, upon first look, assumed to be the error of an outside source, an external source, whoever you're having that conflict with, whoever you're interacting with. It's going to be assumed that it's coming from them because your function is running by its framework. When you arrive at an outcome that you didn't like, it's very tempting and most probable that you will arrive at the assumption that you were in the right and the other person did something. And you react accordingly. You reacted appropriately. That's how we always feel initially, right? And that's why it's running through your subconscious framework, so it feels right. It is not until we become consciously aware that it is not only highly possible, but also highly probable that there is an error in that internal programming that is bringing us these outcomes that we don't want. Not just continuous external factors always being the culprit. Not likely. And it's only when we start to kind of wake up to that in the conscious mind and we run into outcomes enough times that we really aren't liking, that we begin to see the truth about our subconscious mind. And the fact that although it is functioning correctly and trying to properly protect us as it was designed to do, it is functioning correctly, but it is no longer programmed correctly. It has a programmed agenda that is in direct opposition to our current future hopes and dreams. It has hindering and problematic programs that no longer serve in the long term for us, for our long-term goals. It has become the unsuspected villain of the story. Yikes.
Yikes.
And what do we do about villains in every superhero story for all of time? We capture them, right? And we give them the opportunity to turn away from their evil ways and reform, redeem themselves, turn back to the good side. Thankfully, unlike the villains of Marvel and Disney, or wherever, our subconscious mind is actually very cooperative in this process of reforming and getting reprogrammed, so long as you learn its language and you speak to it in its language. It's very cooperative. So in line with my previous episode about limerence, and as a long-anticipated topic I have wanted to cover so bad, this video is going to give you the framework to how to reprogram your subconscious mind. Woohoo! To make it align with your current conscious aspirations and goals and future plans. Woo! Yes, that is great. Aren't you excited? But I want to warn you, this stuff is powerful. I'm not even joking. Right? All jokes aside, I am not joking. Okay, I'm being very serious right now. This stuff is powerful. I truly believe that it is the secret to life. The secret to mastering and creating the life you've always wanted for yourself. Once you have this mastered and figured out, the sky is the limit. And I'm going to outline it for you today for absolutely nothing. Completely free. All I ask in return is that if you do find this information valuable, that you support the channel by subscribing and clicking the bell so that you can get notifications for future episodes. Your free subscription is the most important metric to keep this channel succeeding and running. It massively helps the algorithm when you subscribe. Massively. Please subscribe! So in this video, I am going to specifically address limerence, the ABCs of its root cause that were detailed in the previous episode. We're going to take those and address how to correct those ABCs in order to live a limerence-free life moving forward. And amongst that information, one of those root causes is the negative story that we tell ourselves. That's C. The stories we tell ourselves in relationships, in life in general, about ourselves, and about others. An element to correcting that is reprogramming the subconscious mind.
Wow.
So it ties right in. Essentially, breaking down exactly how we capture, confront, and rehabilitate that villain that your subconscious mind has become and turn it back into that hero. So let's get into it.
Let's do it.
As you may recall, in my previous episode, I ran down something called the ABCs of limerence. And those were the root causes of what is underlying limerence, the reason that you're feeling limerence. I'm gonna recap them very briefly while I give you what you do about them. So from episode 1, which is gonna be right up here, if you missed it, you can absolutely pause this and go watch that. That step, you are going to learn what the root causes are so that you can get yours listed out. I gave my answers, and I'm going to guide you along as I fill in ABC with my own personal answers and then tell you what to do with them as we go. Deeply unmet needs. This is referring to traits that you see in them that you fell in love with because you don't have anyone fulfilling those traits or giving you those things in your life, and you really desire those things. And you also don't provide that to yourself, to your own life, okay? So that's going to be very tempting and attractive to you because it's something that you are depleted of. I wrote a few things that have been some of my deeply unmet needs throughout my life, some of them previous and some of them current. I'll leave it to your imagination which ones are which, okay? I wrote praise, acceptance, and validation. Woohoo! Freedom to be myself without fear of judgment, and unwavering self-assurance. Focus in for a second because I want to share with you something very important. It took me far too long to understand this, and it could have saved me a lot of heartache. When you have a situation in your life that you feel like someone else is causing you pain, something is happening to you that you just can't figure out.
Why do I deserve this? What is going on? What did I ever do?
And you think,
This person broke my heart. If only this person would just say they're sorry and make it right. I love this person, they're not treating me right. If only this person would just treat me right and understand how much I love them and fix our relationship, everything would be better.
right?
If only this person would change this thing about them. They're rude to me. I know they're the problem. I don't do anything to them. I'm always nice to them. They're taking advantage of me. I know it. I know it's them. What can I do? It's not fair.
Right? The surefire way to fix any problem in your life is to shift your perspective away from how somebody else changing could help you or change something in your life or would be the end-all be-all fix for your life to make everything better. and shifting over to the perspective of what can I change about me to make this stop happening, to change my outcome. What is getting me into this situation? Because I get it. I totally get it that there's things that happen to people that are completely outside of their control sometimes. They are a victim of something. There could be a random crime done. You could be at the bank and someone can come in and just hurt you. And you're not going to be like,
well, what can I do to make sure that doesn't happen?
Maybe not go to the bank.
That's not most often the case, though. Typically, if you're in an energetic exchange with somebody, even if you did nothing wrong, technically, there's still two parts of the equation, and one part of that equation is you. And that other part of the equation, them, is something that we can't do anything about. You can say all the words that you can think of. You can learn new words and new ways to explain concepts to them, and they still won't get it if they don't want to change themselves. You can't change other people. You have 100% all overseeing power over yourself. You're always 100% in charge. I know you know this. You've already heard this lesson. But I find that it's a lesson that all people, all of us, me included, always need to rehear it at times throughout life because it's tough. And sometimes you just need to hear it again from someone to apply it to your current situation and realize that that's exactly what needs to happen here. Once I really committed to self-reflection and trying really hard to hold myself accountable in situations, I know that this is a common problem. I know that this is hard to do. And so sometimes we just need a reminder that it's actually really empowering to hunt down and find your flaws, to uncover where you're making the mistake, to figure out what part you played. You can take out fault. You can take out blame. You don't need to shame yourself. All you're looking for is, what role did I play? That doesn't have to have a negative or a positive connotation to it. It's just period. What role did I play? How did I end up here logistically? All the choices that you made and what could be stemming from that led you to that spot. And then you resolve that. That's what the entire premise of this concept is based upon. So it's no longer looking at external figures for how can I solve this problem individually with this person. Like, it's not about that. It's about solving and healing you. So the answer to any of these root causes of limerence is going to be to look within. You're going to be looking at yourself and what is inside of you that needs to make some changes. The side effect of you getting really in touch with self-reflection and always being willing to look at yourself and work on yourself is that you're then going to be vibrating on that level. So you are going to be just naturally, energetically pulled to other people that do the same thing. I bet that if you're suffering from some of these things right now, like I have been, you're probably used to people that take no accountability, that don't admit that they're wrong, that won't take charge in things and won't apologize, won't make up, you that you feel have broken your heart. They just ripped things away from you and feel seemingly no remorse. Or if they do, they aren't doing anything about it. So what does it matter? This is just good on all levels because you're not going to keep running into people like that. You're going to have those wounds in the past that you have to heal from the people that you experienced that never said they were sorry, never seemed to honor or care much about the way that they deeply wounded you. But the good news is that if you make these changes and you learn to do this process better, you get to the bottom of these things in yourself. You have healed that person that is pulled towards people that do that. You're not going to attract that type of person anymore. Woohoo! Mostly. And if you do, if they get, lost on their path a little bit and they stumble into the wrong territory in your life, you're going to notice them immediately. You're going to be able to see right through them because you are healed. It's powerful. There's so much shame that people carry that they just can't stand to admit when they make a mistake or when they're doing something wrong. And it takes people to a very dark place at times. There's some people, I know you've been in contact with them at some time in your life where they just seem like they can just get away with anything. And they'll just act like they didn't do anything. It's wild. Those type of people are soul crushers, okay? They crush your soul. And you don't want to be energetically pulled to them anymore. All right, now back to how to correct limerence. If you've already done these, perfect. We're going to move on. If you need to pause the video and think of yours, go ahead. You can write as many of these as you need to, because eventually you want to resolve all of them, any that you have. I started with 3, and I'm going to go through one of mine for each category in this video to give you an example. I would suggest you should focus on resolving one of these at a time, because you're going to be wanting to put all your focus into that one thing. When you spread your focus too thin in different directions, you end up just like not really focusing on anything. But you're going to pick the number 1 thing on your list that is the most problematic for you, that happens the most often, that you think is your biggest area of concern, that you need to improve the most in, that gets you every time. I'm going to go with the first one I wrote. So I'm going to focus on praise, acceptance, and validation. You're going to think to yourself, what can I set into motion in my life that will help me to give myself more praise, acceptance, and validation so that I am not depleted of this? What can I do to bring that into my own life? What kind of strategies can I put in place that I don't need to look externally for these things? So for mine, I came up with journaling. I'm going to do 3 entries of journaling per week for this one. You want to get roughly this detailed with it. It's going to detail my mistakes that I'm going to be granting myself compassion for. Anything that I make a mistake on, to help myself get more self-acknowledgement, more praise, more validation, I'm going to be giving myself compassion and saying,
That's all right. You tried very hard. You didn't mean to do this. You can try next time. Not a big deal. You're still amazing. You still did this right. You still have this going for you. It's not life ending. You didn't hurt anything. You can try again. Everyone makes mistakes. I forgive myself. It's fine.
Okay, so I'm going to be practicing that every time I make a mistake, and I'm going to be journaling about it in my journal. In addition to that, I'm going to also be journaling all of my small wins. I'm going to grant myself recognition for any small win. So, this could be something as simple as
I made it on time for this appointment.
I was early for this appointment.
I really nailed those points in my last YouTube video.
So I said way less ums than I usually do in my last YouTube video.
I had to cut out way less footage in my editing in my last video than any other video. Wow, good job. Wow, go me.
I cleaned my house more frequently this week.
every little thing that I do that is positive, even if it's what I'm supposed to be doing, even if it's the mundane everyday stuff, I'm going to give myself praise out loud and write about it in my journal, at least a couple of times, okay? I'm holding myself accountable to 3 entries. So I need to write about either mistakes or small wins 3 times a week. And then the last thing is a weekly summary. So at the end of the week, even if I already have 3 entries, I'm still going to do a weekly summary and just talk about how my week went. I'm going to point out any mistakes that I made that I want to give myself compassion for that I might have left out. I'm going to overall assess how well I did in the week of praising myself, and I'm just going to write about how I'm feeling, what improvements I see, anything that I want to enact into the plan if I've noticed that something else needs to be added, things like that. So I'm just going to be talking about my progress and recording it. Now you might be secretly thinking,
Okay, that would be an easy thing to do. And I don't need to record it in a journal to know that I did it. I can just do it. I'm an adult. I'll know if I did it or not.
but there's a very specific reason. I want to tell you how to go about setting a quality goal. Like, what are the parameters of a goal that need to be included? A goal needs to be, 1, specific. You need to be very detailed in when you are going to dedicate time to this goal, how much time you're going to be putting in, what means that this goal was reached, basically. You need to be very detailed about that. So if I just said,
I'm going to correct all my mistakes whenever I make them, and I'm going to give myself praise whenever I have a small win.
okay, how do I know if I've done that? How many times will qualify? What if I don't make any mistakes? Did I reach the goal? You could imagine if I only gave myself compassion for 2 mistakes that week or that month, because if you don't define how long you're going to do it, how often you're going to do it, what are the intervals, it's all up in the air. So if I did it only twice in that whole week, you could probably say that the actual benefit I'm going to get out of that is going to be much less than if I did it, say, 5 times that week. If I did it, say, 10 times that week, So it's something that you want to put a number on. And the only way to make sure that you're doing it at least a minimal amount of times is that you made it specific. You defined the number of times that you're going to do it. And the second part is that it is measurable. So if you just do it and you don't have anything to track, you don't have anything visible, you don't have anything tangible to verify that you did this, it's all just appear, then you can't verify that you did it. You know that you did it, but you don't know how many times you did it. You can't see in front of you the results that you're getting. You can't see progress. You can't make sure that it's happening. So for goals to be successful, they need to be, number one, specific, defining times, defining intervals, defining how long you're going to do it for, what time of day you're going to do it, how many times you're going to do it, all of that. And all what it actually is. What are you going to do specifically? And then it needs to be measurable. So the only way you can measure something like that is to track it. And that is what the journal is for. Okay, so the journal is very essential, because if it's not a measurable goal, it's not going to be quite as successful. It's not going to be as impactful. Because part of a goal, part of what pushes you to keep achieving, keep going, keep getting to that goalpost is seeing your progress. And if you can't see your progress, then you're just kind of flying in the wind. All right, so specific, measurable. There's one more part that's really important for goal setting, and that is that it is achievable, reasonable. So you need to be really realistic about your life. So for me, you guys know I have a child that is a minor and I have one adult child. And you guys know that I have other things that I do besides just my YouTube channel. Okay, so I'm pretty busy. So 3 entries might seem low to some people. For me, it's perfect. Because if I came on here and I said,
I'm going to write in my journal 30 times a week.
No, I'm not going to. I'll fail at that goal. So it needs to be achievable. You need to actually, that's why also it needs to be specific, because you need to think about what it's going to entail to complete that goal. And you need to think about how that's actually going to fit into your real life and your real schedule. Very specifically. So for me, I'm thinking things like, how long does it take to enter this type of information into a journal? Each time I do it, how long is it going to take me? At most, probably 15 minutes each time, right? Do I have 15 minutes on 3 different days of the week that I'm probably doing something that I could maybe not do and do this instead? Yeah. I can find 15 minutes 3 times a week. I can do that. Perfect. Now, if I were to bump it up to like something like 25 or 30, that's not going to happen. So really think about your schedule when you're setting the goal. Don't overshoot it. Don't, I do say reach for the stars. Reach for them. But like maybe one that's just like not so much higher in the sky first. Just the lower star first. And then progress, You don't want to leap for the highest star. Very first step, okay? Just, be realistic. All right? Specific, measurable, achievable. There's no 4. It's just those 3. All right. So I want you to think about what yours could be for whatever you have here on your unmet needs. And if you are having a really hard time thinking of this, for any of my subscribers, I offer a one-time free self-development plan. I offered it initially on my betrayal video. So it was how to heal from a betrayal. There is a self-development and healing plan included with that video, a step-by-step. It's and even an interactive material. I offered it back then for that, but this can be for this as well. So if you need a self-development plan for Limerence and you are a subscriber of mine, you just reach out to me through the contact on my YouTube, and I will be more than happy to help you to develop one. You literally have to do nothing more than show proof of subscription, and that's it. And I will make one for you. It's something that I do to give back to my followers that are supporting this channel, because you guys just mean everything to me. I love being able to do this, and without your subscriptions, I couldn't do it. Okay. All right, bestie, let's do it. Moving right along to B. Suppress traits within you that this person, for whatever reason, they make you feel like you can express those traits. They make you feel like the realest you that has ever been known to you. They make you feel alive. They make you feel like you're finally that person that you've always known that you are, but you just, for some reason, have felt like you couldn't express in that way. It's different than A, because A is specific traits that they express that fulfill a need for you, that you don't have, that you're not fulfilling for yourself. not suppressed, just period. But then this is a little bit different. This is things that you do have, but they're just things that you're shy to show, or things that you've stopped doing because as you grew up, or that you have always felt like were shamed, or like you didn't think that like you could do it well, but you really want to do it. Such as I gave the example of me singing or dancing, things like that. I was always so shy. But this person makes you feel good about yourself enough to where you come out of your shell in that way. So that's what this one is. So it's a little bit different. I have extroverted. I've always been an introvert. I've pushed myself at times to be an extrovert, and it's still the real me. It just gives me a lot of anxiety. I have a lot of social anxiety. I've always been that way. It really wears me out. And I've always wished that I could be just naturally extroverted and not feel all that weight on me that just like has me completely drained after the fact. I wish it were just actually a 100% good experience for me to socialize with people, because I want to connect and I want to do that, but it's just so draining. And the second one I wrote is humorous. My humor has not always been an expressed part of my personality. I've only more recently started embracing it a little bit more in a more public way. Big time. And then feeling beautiful naturally. I woke up like the. I woke up like the. No reason to break the mold that I believe is going to work quite well for part A. I'm going to use it again for part B.
Wow.
I'm going to use the journaling as my way to make this trackable and measurable. However, what I'm going to be doing in the background is going to be quite a bit different. I need a strategy that's more qualities of being comfortable with being extroverted and be my full self, even when other people are around, without it draining me, without it making me feel so much anxiety. Just letting it be my normal, relaxed way of being. I made the goal of attending one social event or gathering per week. And at that social gathering, I have a goal within there, which is to initiate conversation with at least 3 new people that I haven't talked to. And I'm going to write down those interactions. I'm going to write down certain things about that. How I initiated the conversation, see how that worked. How did I feel about that? I'm going to give it a rating. I'm going to make my rating on a 1 to 10 on how comfortable that felt. So I'm just going to go by purely how it felt in my emotions. Did I get a lot of anxiety? Did the person respond well to this? How did that go? I'm going to use the same conversation starter for each person at each week. So for week 1, the 3 people that I initiate conversation with, I'm going to use the same introductory statement or question or whatever it is that I choose. I'm going to use it on all 3 people. And I'm going to record how it went with each person. And then I'm going to write down things like how long each of those conversations lasted. I'm going to rate how awkward it felt for me, how much anxiety I had, or how much comfortability, right? Either way. And I'm going to write how I felt the other person was responding. If I felt like they were engaged, or if I felt like they didn't really want to talk to me. And some more notes on details about how the interactions went. Perfect. So then at the end of the month, I'm going to write a monthly summary about how my month went with that. And at the beginning of the month, before the first week, I'm going to rate on a scale of 1 to 10 how much social anxiety I'm feeling about doing this project. And then at the end of the month, I'm going to rate it again and see now how do I feel about going into one of these interactions and see if anything changes. And then I will adjust my approach at that point if anything needs to be adjusted. Perfect. That now brings us to the absolute most important part of the video. Okay, so strap in because I've been waiting a long time to get to this, and I hope you're as excited as I am because I'm freaking excited, okay? I'm not joking. This is the part we're going to now talk about how to reprogram your subconscious mind. Now, this is a process that is very near and dear to me. This is a topic that I learned about at a time when I was falling apart. I was in dire need for some hope, and at that dark, lonely, hopeless place, I stumbled upon something that would go on to become, and still to this day, I absolutely believe this to the depths of my soul. This is the secret to life. This is quite literally the most important piece of knowledge I have ever learned. It's so crazy because when I started telling people about it, I feel like I wasn't getting quite the reactions out of people that I thought I would. And that really baffled me. It still does. Because I thought when people hear it explained about why it's so important and what that means, I mean, what that means to me, I guess I was a little bit assuming that they would understand it the same way that I do and believe in it the same way that I do. I was quite surprised when people were not absolutely jumping for joy and thinking this was the greatest thing they've ever heard and getting started on it right away, immediately. Especially when I started telling my then partner about it, believing that it was also the secret to healing our relationship and that it would truly save us. And it could have. It could have absolutely saved us. But it doesn't work when someone will not do it. And when someone will not listen even enough to hear what you're saying. So that was frustrating. I've kind of carried this information along for quite some time now. And I've felt like I'm like holding this like national treasure in my hand. No one understands how valuable it is. And I'm just like,
guys, I know something very important.
And mind you, it's not like I'm trying to keep it hidden at all. So let's go. C is for the negative stories that we are telling ourselves. It is related to the core self-limiting beliefs that stem from childhood, that are in your subconscious, maybe are aware of, maybe are not. But if you are not aware of them, there are ways to find those out. And we're going to go over that. Basically, these are the things from when you were a child that were implemented through the learning system of the subconscious mind. So it was based on your experiences, things that you experienced over and over again, and what that taught you. So it can be left up to interpretation, remember that. And also it could have been in a vulnerable position that you were in then that you're not in now. It might have applied then, and it does not now. Why don't we just tell ourselves not to think those things about ourselves anymore? Why doesn't that work? Because your subconscious mind, it speaks a totally different language. What extensive studies have found is that your subconscious mind speaks a language of emotion. Your emotions are what have trained it to be this way, however it is, and also repetition. And so if you are going through emotions in real time, that can be a factor in programming it, and it does program it. And then also reflecting on something and visualizing emotional imagery. So when you have like a moment of nostalgia and you're thinking back to your past and you kind of have a bittersweet feeling about it and you kind of see it in your mind's eye, that's emotional imagery. So you are visualizing in your mind how you felt and what was going on at that time when you were in that situation, and you're feeling that emotion. You're remembering that emotion, and you're kind of seeing yourself in that emotion. That is also a way to program the subconscious mind. So if you can't put yourself into that emotion in the moment, like if you're not actually just experiencing something naturally, you can program it with emotional imagery. So those are the two things. So emotions, emotional imagery, and then also it has to happen repeatedly. Not just one time, not just sprinkled here and there. It needs to be repetitive. You got to drill it in, basically. These core limiting beliefs, they're not things that you had happen to you probably just one time. Almost for sure, not just one time. These are things that happened and you were trained this way over time, repetitively. And then the subconscious is so tricky, okay? It's kind of a okay, it's just the way it is. Once it learns something, it makes sure to solidify that by then using that information to make its decisions for you. It not only judges things through that lens, so anything that you're experiencing, it's going to judge that situation through that lens with that belief. So even if you don't know that belief is in there, you're judging things through that belief. You don't have to know you're doing it. You will be doing it. It will happen. And then, even if people are telling you,
that's not what's going on here. That's not how it's happening.
You're going to believe it so much that you're going to be doing things that are basically going to push that situation to go into that direction. So like, for example, the person that is so worried about their partner abandoning them, so they get really clingy, and then they're like, don't leave me, don't leave me, don't leave me. And then that makes them leave them. And everyone was like,
girl, just just calm down. Like, you're going to push them away. Stop accusing them. Stop saying they're going to leave you. Stop being so clingy. And they won't leave you.
And then you're just like,
no, they're going to leave me. Everyone leaves me. You're going to leave me.
And then they leave you. And then you're like,
I knew it.
No. And that's also known as self-fulfilling prophecy. Your self-fulfilling prophecies are put into action because of your self-limiting beliefs. They all tie together, okay? So you make these things happen in your reality. The subconscious mind is what ties your thoughts to your reality. Your thoughts and your reality, they match. We feel a lot of conviction in our beliefs and our thoughts. When we offer up our opinion, we feel very like we had, we pulled it from somewhere. We're like, this is really important. There's really something to say. And we feel so strongly about that because our reality matches our thoughts, our beliefs. They match together. Because it's designed that way. And anything that doesn't match is going to at first feel extremely uncomfortable for one. You're probably going to be very tempted to object and say, no, you're wrong about that. This is the way it is. And your brain does all kinds of crazy things to make that so. One, like information bias.
Oopsie.
People will skip over information that actually would prove their point wrong and only pay attention and seek out information that is going to back up their point. And literally, you can say you're not doing it all day, but you have to really, it takes an extreme effort not to do that. It's really hard. Your brain literally just wants to take over and do that. You don't even know you're doing it half the time. You're like,
no, I'm including all results.
But like, you're literally not. You're going to be tailoring the way that you write the search terms. You're going to be tailoring the things that you're reading and where your eyes are going to go to automatically. It's just like your brain wants with everything inside of it to prove your thoughts into reality. It got those thoughts from somewhere. So it's like,
no, this is Ray. I'm trying to protect you.
So it gets really stubbornly stuck on this. And then there's also cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance, one of the things that threw me for a loop these past few years. Cognitive dissonance literally tells us it's the process of which your brain makes up reasons and excuses for why something that you're seeing doesn't make sense with what you believe. It helps you to keep your bias opinion and your belief in place, because when you're faced with something that is contradictory to that, it's going to give you a plausible reason why that is. So that's why people can completely ignore their bad behavior and say they didn't do anything, because usually cognitive dissonance is helping them very well do that. Unless they're just like diabolical liars and evil people. Most of the time, it's literally cognitive dissonance. And to the outsider looking in, it's very easy to see. So you're like,
no, how can you not see this? You literally do that. That doesn't make any sense. Here's the proof.
They will be like completely blind to it. And you'll see people sometimes act so odd where they'll avoid a conversation. They will be out of character a little bit. You'll be like,
what is going on? Why won't you just face this?
And it's because their brain is fighting them. Their brain is fighting to not face that. And it's so difficult to break out of. This happens all the time. Constantly. I mean, two people that get into an argument, if they're having completely opposing views on the topic, and like one says it happened this way, one says it happened this way, one of them is wrong. It's probably cognitive dissonance coming into play somewhere there. I know in my relationship, I had proof of many things that he was saying. I had proof. I had proof to show him that he was incorrect about it. And somehow, this man was able to, without fail, dodge that proof every time I brought it. Every time. To the point that I thought for certain this man was evil. I thought, oh my, this is the most diabolical person I've ever met in my life. Because how in the world are you sitting there saying that information again after the conversation that we've had? How are you saying that right now? And I would actually get frightened. I'm not joking. I would feel so eerie and like,
I'm being played. This is an evil person. Like, this person is scary.
that's what I would think. Because he would sit there in front of my face and say something that I know he should absolutely know is not correct, that we've had conversations about for hours, that I've showed him proof about. And he would say so confidently out of his mouth to another person, one time a therapist actually, it was terrible. I would just be like, am I in the freaking Twilight Zone right now? What is this the devil? Like, what is going on? How can you say that? And based on, I mean, honestly, I can never really be sure if he knew what he was doing or if he was employing cognitive dissonance and not fully aware. But from what I've studied about human psychology and what I know about human behavior and what I know the odds point to is that it probably was cognitive dissonance. There's not a lot of people. I'm not even certain there are any people that are 100% just bad to the bone evil. I guess maybe like serial killers or something. But I think even then, those people have just somehow been able to justify their behavior to an unreasonable, crazy level in our eyes. But it's really just about how much cognitive dissonance you can employ and how much you are able to justify. Because people don't just do things and be like, people aren't running around here like the villains from like movies. They're not like,
I'm gonna be evil.
No, they're like,
I'm doing this because like I have a right to do it.
They think they have a right to do it. Cognitive dissonance. So all of that is just to really illustrate how deeply embedded these beliefs that we're talking about are going to be in your subconscious. Okay, this is not going to be an overnight solution. When I lay it out for you, I'm thinking just like how it was for me. It's going to seem like, oh my gosh, that's it? That's all I have to do? Oh, that's so simple. I can turn my life around right now. Like, that's so easy. It's going to seem like, because it's so step by step, and it's like you just do this, you do that, and you do that, and then boom, you reprogram your whole subconscious mind and your life is perfect, exactly how you want it, right? Ideally, yes. Actually, that is true. But to actually do these things, you're working with, or I don't know where the subconscious resides exactly, kind of all over, but you're dealing with a very, very powerful tool. You're trying to train it to be the way you want it to be. You're tapping into its language. You're tapping into the way it works. And it's real comfortable where it's been for however many years it's been there. And it's not going to go quietly. It's not just going to be like,
Oh. Yeah, let's just throw that belief out and move on with this one.
It's going to go more like kicking and screaming and down in a blaze, okay? And rise back up like a phoenix. It's not easy at all. So, because I'm not going to lie to you, it's not easy. I have been trying at this now for coming up on 2 years, I think, maybe. And I have made such beautiful progress on a lot of my self-limiting beliefs. I've seen the needle moving, but they're not gone. I deal with them all the time still. But they're very stubborn. They're so stubbornly in there. For me, it's going to be different for everybody. For me, I have some really deep ones. Some really deep ones. Sometimes I do get down and lose a little bit of hope. I'm just going to be honest. I sometimes wonder and question, can I ever deprogram some of them? They're so deep in it. I have such deep trauma residing around some of these that just it's in every part of who I am and every part of my past and everything I ever remember about myself. It's like ripping my entire skeleton out of my body and then trying to live. It's everything I'm built from. it feels like it's me, it's who I am. And I'm trying to deprogram that out of me. That's scary. It feels like sometimes when you have a lot of trauma, and you have a lot of pain, and it's been there for as far back as you can remember, and you try to start removing that, it's interesting because you would think you'd be so ready to get rid of all of that, right? You'd be like,
yeah, let me just throw that out there and throw it away. I never want to see it again. Goodbye. Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
But it isn't like that, actually. And it feels really empty. And it's really scary because you kind of start to realize that a lot of that is very intertwined with who you are. It feels like it is who you are. It feels like, who the heck will I be? Actually, what is my life all even about? That's all my life's ever been about. If I remove all of that, I think I just remove me. I'm not even going to exist anymore. Who the hell even am I? And it's really, it's deep. It's on a deep level. It's very frightening sometimes. And it's just, sometimes it's a lot. So if you want to embark on this journey with me at this time, I'm going to give you the steps. You don't take it lightly, and offer my support along that journey. All right? So praise to you if you are embarking on that, because that's a hard, freaking thing to do, and you're such a boss, okay? Amazing. Proud of you. If you are unfamiliar with what your self-limiting beliefs are, or if you've not really explored this very much and you actually don't really know what they are, which ones you have, I'll give you the framework at least, because that's really helpful. If you know what the options are, you can probably narrow it down a lot better. So I'm going to refer to this clip, which is actually a clip I made back in the day when I very first started this channel. So it's really funny. It's when I was first starting out. Okay, so be kind. And it'll give you the 21 most common core self-limiting beliefs. And this comes from Thais Gibson from Personal Development School. Check it out. I am not enough. I am bad. I am stupid. I am unseen or unheard. I don't belong. I am disconnected. I am rejected. I am abandoned or alone. I am weak. I am unworthy. I am unimportant. I am disliked. I am excluded. I am trapped or stuck. I am unloved. I am unsafe. I am helpless. I am defective. I am misunderstood. I am disrespected. Or I am powerless, or I have no control. Those are your 21 most common self-limiting beliefs. Fascinating. Fascinating work, that girl. She did. Won't she do that? Won't she do it? Yay. All right, so figure out which ones stand out to you. Like,
I might struggle with that one.
And just circle the ones that apply, okay? That could be a possibility. Not saying that you do believe that about yourself, but maybe, okay? And now the way that you know that you have self-limiting beliefs is, one, you probably do, because everyone does pretty much. Even if you're secure attachment, you likely have some degree of self-limiting belief. Every human being, except for in the very rarest of cases, struggles with insecurities from time to time. It's just the part of being human. So I'm sure there are some of these that you feel about yourself at times. And if it's not a pressing concern, I don't know that you would be watching this video. Or maybe you're watching it for someone else. So just think about what theirs are if you're trying to help them out. But think about the ones that apply in this way. It's when there have been times in your life that you felt something was very important. You set out to achieve a goal and you didn't quite achieve that goal. And it kind of went down in flames. It turned out a way that you didn't intend on, and you didn't try to put anything in motion that made it end that way. And you don't quite sometimes understand why that went that way. And maybe there's been a series of things that have kind of gone that way for you. Think about those things. Your self-limiting beliefs are going to lie somewhere and something connected to those stories. And then think about what triggers you. Now, a trigger is something that sets you off into an elevated level of emotion, or a bodily reaction, an emotional reaction that doesn't directly tie to what is happening in the moment, but also is fueled by something that happened in the past that this moment reminded you of or brought you to the emotions of. Okay, and sometimes we're triggered and we don't know it. So if you're not very in touch with this part of yourself, it's very common that you might not even be able to say, I was triggered and I know why and I know when. So this can be something that you might learn right now and have to revisit the next time you get triggered. And you can kind of think in the moment like, oh, okay, I am oddly emotional right now over something that person just said. And it's not a particularly infuriating statement. Like, everyone in the room is not infuriated right now. It's just kind of me. And I just didn't like that. That was offensive because my dad used to say that to me or something like that. You know, I don't like the way they use that word because so-and-so used to say that. And they used to do that and they were very emotionally abusive to me or something, you know? So you'll kind of figure it out in the moment. And then fears. So what's something that you commonly, when you're going into something that you're very excited about or you really want it to work out, and when you get kind of cold feet or you get a little nervous about what you're doing, what are the things that come up in your mind? Like, do you fear that you will mess up? Or you fear that people won't take you seriously? Or, you know, what comes up for you? Think about those things. And it's okay if you come up with one that doesn't seem to be on the list, because these are kind of just like the generalized broad categories, and maybe the one you think of could generalize into one of these categories. Or maybe you think of one that's just very unique, and that's fine too. Okay, so it can be anything. I am anything you believe about yourself that hinders you in some way when you're trying to achieve the things in life that you want to achieve, or causes you an elevated emotion that you'd rather not be brought to in times that don't call for it. Okay, so you don't want to be tethered to that anymore. You don't want to be stifled by that. You don't want to have a reaction like that you don't get to control, and you don't get to say how you're feeling in that moment because your emotions just did it for you. So anything like that. So I will tell you, when I first discovered this, when I first discovered personal development school and I found this list and I started going down it and I was like,
Okay, which ones do I have?
Man, when I tell you, I had an issue. I realized that to a certain degree, I literally had all but 2 the first time I went through it. I had all but 2 of them. And I was just like,
What the heck? How common is that?
I was like,
I have so much work to do.
It was really overwhelming. But then, come to find out, when I explored a little deeper, those 2 that I thought I didn't have, I actually found out I had those 2. All of them. I had all of them. I had the whole entire list. I had all 21. Okay? So, regardless of what your situation is, whether you have 1 on the list or you have all 21, trust me, this is going to be the process to take care of these. And you very much can do it. And it's not a race. It is a marathon. So just get comfortable. And it's going to be something that you're going to do over a length of time, maybe throughout your whole life. Healing is an ongoing process. So you always have room to get better. You always have room to fix things even further. It's an ongoing process. And you don't ever have to put pressure on yourself for this. This is going to be great work that you're going to do in a positive direction, regardless of how far you get with it. It's better than just staying where it is now, if it's hindering you. So, once you have those written down, let's move on to the next step. To demonstrate for you how this can go, the way that these can be so hidden from you, I want you to understand this. So this is going to take levels of deep reflection. You're going to have to really start getting in tune with what your emotions are. That's really key to this process. So you're going to start getting in tune with your emotions. Step 1 is realizing that this is happening, accepting that this is the process. We've already talked about that. Step 2 is dedicating yourself to self-reflection. You're going to start getting in touch with, what am I feeling? What is happening to my body? What am I saying? What are my emotions doing, and why? You're going to start questioning yourself. Why did I say that? Why did my face get hot? And why did I feel like I didn't want to talk anymore? Why did I shut down? What was said right before that happened? Okay, this person said that. Why did that make me do that? Why did that happen? And you're going to start questioning those things. And you're going to start revealing nuggets of truth in yourself. Okay? And again, I can't stress enough how important a journal is. So just like jot these things down and have something to refer back to so that you can start putting the pieces together and figuring yourself out. Like I said, I had all of them except for 2, I thought. So the 2 that I thought I didn't have were I am bad and I am stupid. Well, I was like,
I'm very confident about my intelligence, so that one's fine. And I am bad? No.
And I was like, this is how I justified it to myself. Okay, so this is how this can happen. I was like,
I've literally spent my entire life obsessed with everyone seeing me as good. I can't stand to be seen as bad because I am kind-hearted.
So if someone would misrepresent me or misinterpret me, that would be like, ugh. That was one of the most painful things for me growing up, because I knew that all I wanted to do, all my MO and everything, was just make people happy, was just be a good person, was just bring good to the world. And I did. I mean, I'm not ashamed of it. As a child and as a young teen and everything, I wanted to be viewed that way. I wanted people to say,
she's a good person.
because I felt I really was, and I believe I was. I am a good person. I know that I am. But the problem was I was so preoccupied with making sure everyone else knew that I was. This was where the belief was existing. It couldn't sit well with me if someone thought that I wasn't good. If someone thought I was not good, that would just tear me apart. It would bring the whole house cards down. I just could not handle it. It would bother me to no end. It would plague me. It would plague my entire life. I'd be like,
Why do they think that? They have no reason to think that. I'm not bad. I'm good. I'm a great person. What do I need to do to show them? What can I do to change their mind?
to me, when I first saw that I am bad, it was like instantly,
No.
I was like, I've literally spent my entire life stressing the fact I am good because I know I am good. I've literally spent my entire life
Stressing the fact I am good. I am good.
oopsie, and I don't want to be misperceived. After studying this a lot more, I realized that anything that's like that, it's actually probably because you do suspect or worry or fear that that might be true. And so mine was a little bit tricky. This is where it gets very nuanced and it's very unique to you. So mine wasn't necessarily an I am bad belief. It was more of a fear of being misinterpreted, misunderstood, being seen in a way that I'm not actually, and having people dislike me for that. And really, the preoccupation was more surrounding just not being okay with someone not liking me, and believing that all of my worth comes from an external source. So ultimately, this one would still probably not necessarily stem back to I am bad. There's a bit of that in it. So I guess probably somewhere deep down, I worry that because someone thinks I'm bad, that might make me bad because I take so much value into what others think of me. So it's a little bit of that, but it's really more connected, in my case, to I am unworthy. I am unimportant. Things like that. So it's the belief that if other people don't see me as what is good, then I'm not. So that's more my issue. So you got to really get to the bottom of that, because it's not necessarily the I am bad belief, okay? So as I started going through these and really picking that apart, I kind of eliminated a few of them. So that was good. So you can do that. And then I've also worked on some of them. I started with my most troubling one, and I started working on that. And then I realized that one was going to take quite some time to do any budging, which was the I am not enough. And then I started working on a few of the other ones and have resolved quite a few of them. It's been a pretty rewarding journey so far, but I am not at the finish line. So I'm here with you, doing this with you. The way that I would approach this is I would circle the ones that stand out to me right away. So if you're able to just look at that list and pick some, do that. If you need some more hints because you're not quite in tuned to that, you're maybe someone who more doesn't pay a lot of attention to their emotions and delve into those areas, this might take a little bit longer. And you'll want to notice anytime that you become elevated in emotion, try to recognize it in the moment and ask yourself,
What just happened that caused my body to react this way, my emotions to react this way?
and start getting to the bottom of it that way. And then I want you to go back through all of the events in your life that were important to you, relationships, so breakups, friendships that broke up, goals that you had that you gave up on, that you really were very serious about at the time, but you ended up having to abandon, jobs, career excursions, things that you set out to do that did not turn out the way you intended. Okay, and then I want you to examine why didn't they turn out the way that I intended, and what is the common denominator here? What, not like, oh, it's me. No. What is the theme that keeps coming up in everything? What is the theme that keeps coming out in like all of them, that something is related? And try to pinpoint it that way. Once you have your self-limiting beliefs and you know what they are, we're going to pick one at a time to work on. Now, some of them go hand in hand, so if you think you can handle more than one, they kind of go together, then that's fine. But typically just one topic at a time. You're going to pick the one that impacts you the most, that you have the hardest time with, that comes up a lot. For me, it was I am not enough. You're going to ask yourself, can I be certain that this statement is true about me? Is there a way to prove and be sure that I'm actually not enough as a person? I'm not exaggerating. To find these out for myself, to figure out which ones were most predominantly at the forefront of my everyday experience, I just started keeping a log of every time I was triggered. Every time something got me a little bit like, or like, oh, like every time I felt that feeling inside of me, I went and I wrote it down. And I wrote what happened, who was inspiring it, what the situation was. I wrote it out and I was like,
what is here? What is going on?
And I would just analyze it and be like,
what moment, what word was it that was just like, oh, to me?
You have to get like really, what's the word? You got to get like really just, to get really raw with it. Right. I don't know what other word to use. You don't sugarcoat it at all. And it can sound terrible, but
I was upset because they said this word.
And it might sound so silly to you, but you got to be authentic about it because it's triggering you whether you want to acknowledge it or not. So, you can keep pretending that it's just too stupid for you to actually get real about. But I mean, the fact of the matter is that's making you upset. So you just got to kind of like swallow your pride and write down every time you're triggered. And you're going to be like,
I am such a baby. Like, why am I having a freaking temper tantrum on the inside 20 times a day?
It kind of opens your eyes to maybe if you are in a time of a lot of stress or you're down a lot, you're upset a lot, it kind of opens your eyes to like how many points throughout your day you are getting a little bit rubbed the wrong way. And it's very eye-opening. So for me, that helped a lot. So you can try that. Asking this question might seem really silly. And I know it does seem silly, but if this is the first time, this process is really important. It's basically connecting it's bringing sort of the ridiculousness of this limiting belief to your conscious awareness. So what happens is when we're triggered with our subconscious, we don't know it's happening. So these beliefs that could be stuck in your subconscious, they're the type that if you heard them out loud, or if someone came up to you with like a microphone and they were like,
hi,
they're like interviewing you. They're like,
do you believe that you're stupid?
You would be like,
no.
But actually, you have the self-limiting belief in your subconscious of I am stupid. And you don't even know that. And I want to clarify for you here that in this list that Thais Gibson has created, the I am stupid, I do suspect means the I am betrayed, I will be fooled, I will be tricked. It doesn't mean stupid like I think I'm stupid, like I have a low IQ, I'm not intelligent, I didn't get good grades. It doesn't mean that. It means I'm stupid, I'm gonna get fooled by people. Like I fall for dumb things. I fall for people that trick me. That's what I'm stupid means here. So in the beginning when I saw this one, this is the other one that I didn't think I had, but came to find out I absolutely have this one. This is one of my biggest ones actually, because I found out for fearful avoidant, the I will be betrayed or I am betrayed wound is one of the biggest. So you might not realize that you have this wound, but I noticed that I had it because I was letting it operate within friendships for me. I found out that that's probably the number one wound that has kept me from making connections and kept me from making friends. I didn't realize that for years, I was actually making very snap judgments on people on a surface level when I would meet them as to whether or not they could ever be my friend. And it wasn't like I was just looking at them and judging their appearance or judging them particularly as a person. What it was, I came to find out, was I was picking up on pain in people. I was picking up on people carrying around trauma. And if I couldn't see that in a snap judgment when I first met someone, if someone seemed a little too light, a little too inexperienced, not had any suffering on them, I would just immediately decide that they could never be my friend. And I was doing this as a coping mechanism because when I had first opened up about my abuse, I had gotten some reactions that I never expected, and they had made me feel very ashamed. And I started doing this without even knowing it because I felt like only someone who had gone through some trauma, some heavy stuff, would ever be able to understand me. And so I would just write people off immediately. And then I would behave in a surface standoffish way towards people, and I wouldn't make any friends because I was pushing everyone away. I was keeping a barrier up between me and people unless they seemed like they had been through some trauma, which is not healthy. I shouldn't just be making friends that have lots of trauma. And I know this makes no sense when I bring it to the forefront, which is the entire point of what I'm getting at here. But I equated people that didn't go through trauma and hadn't been through pain would mean that they would be a fake friend to me. That if I were to befriend them, they wouldn't be able to be a real friend. And if they saw my trauma or they knew about what really happened to me, I just felt like I was the odd man out. They couldn't relate to me, and that they would betray me, turn their back on me, and they wouldn't ever be my real friend. So I just felt safer with people that had already been through trauma and like they could understand me and they would accept me. So it was definitely, in a roundabout way, the I am stupid or I will be betrayed wound. I didn't even know I was doing this for so long. So that is how these subconscious beliefs, if you don't uncover them, they will be operating in your life. They absolutely were operating in mine. I had no idea it was in there. So that's one example. Saying it out loud sounds so outlandish and self-deprecating. And you don't want to be thinking that. And that's the point. So this is a very important step because you're taking what is hidden from you in your subconscious. That to your subconscious makes total sense. It's absolutely there for a reason. It's necessary. It's been programmed there from when you were a child, and it's necessary to keep you protected. You're bringing that to the forefront, out in the open of your conscious mind, so that you can look at it with conscious eyes as an adult and go, no, that actually doesn't make any sense. And there's actually no proof that that's true. It's not true, actually. So if you don't ever do that process, ignoring it doesn't make it stop being in your subconscious. You can deny it all day. And maybe you're not denying it on purpose, but you cannot uncover these things and they will still exist there. And you will still have reactions based on these beliefs that if you actually acknowledge them, you'd be like, that's so dumb. I don't actually want to believe that. So that's why you do this part. You're going to bring it to the forefront of your conscious brain and you're going to challenge it and you're going to be like, no, I can't be sure that that is true. And I don't believe that is true. So once you do that acknowledgement, and it's really important too, because you might kind of think for a second,
maybe I do know it's true.
And then it's a really deep one. It's got some trauma attached to it maybe. So this is very important. And I'm going to be serious, really serious right now, friend. As someone who has, unfortunately, a lot of my life thought quite lowly of myself and been probably the most mean to myself in the internal voice that I have sadly somehow developed for myself over time. Most of my life, I did not think highly of myself. I actually thought pretty badly about myself, and there were times when I was in my lowest times, I would say horrible things to myself and beat myself up and really put myself down. And sometimes going through a process like this, it can seem like it's tailored for someone who has more evidence of these things. And you very well could be thinking, like I have many times in my life.
Well, it doesn't matter how many times you say it, it's still not true. I'm really not that great.
I got treated like crap in this relationship and totally ripped to shreds, even though I gave my all. And that kind of shows me I'm not worth it. And that kind of shows me I'm not that great. That kind of shows me I'm not lovable. And if I gave my best and this person treated me like garbage, I mean, that seems like evidence that I'm not that great, right?
And the answer is unequivocally no. The answer is absolutely not. And I'm telling you that from someone who absolutely has felt that way. And you might have multiple situations where you're like,
I wasn't that important apparently to that person because they're gone.
And maybe you have parents that never thought you had anything that important to say. They did the best they could, but a lot of times maybe they just ultimately showed that they're not that interested in some of the ideas that you have and some of the things that you're talking about. And maybe you felt like that a lot of your life and you're just like,
honestly, the evidence just tells me that, and I just don't believe it.
And I will tell you very sincerely, that has been one of my biggest hiccups, because it's been tough for me. No matter how much I've wanted to say,
no, I do believe this. I know I am good.
it didn't matter how much I felt like I convinced myself on the outside that I obviously am enough, that I obviously have intrinsic value, that I can see all these very blatant good qualities I have, good things I've given to people, honest intentions I've had. I can see myself authentically. For some freaking reason, I still, some reason, this belief would just linger in the back of my mind at times when I was really upset and want to tell me,
no, you're not good enough.
and it just wouldn't shut up. It wouldn't shut up. So I get it. Sometimes when I would be in my lowest of lows, I would be like,
who am I kidding? Who am I kidding? Obviously you're not enough. Look at you. Alone again. Look at you. No one's even calling you. No one's even checked in on you. You're pathetic.
You've heard, I've told you guys how I talk to myself at times. It's horrible. It was like, there was times when I was just like,
This is not gonna work. This is not gonna work for me. I just can't do it.
so if you struggle in that same way, I want to be the first to tell you, if no one's told you, you absolutely are enough.
Period.
And even if you're like,
No, obviously I'm not very smart. Obviously I'm not that lovable because I don't have someone. And all these people left me.
other people don't think this about you. Not everyone. And the people that do, like, pardon my French, but them. Okay? I mean, I'm sorry. Like, sorry, not sorry. Really, though. F them. Because you are. You are lovable. You could think of some things that are very lovable about you. You can think of some times where people found you to be lovable. So if you're coming up in that space where this is a really rough, rocky time for you, I've been there. I have so been there. And you might struggle and go,
No, all I can think of is these two random times I might have been a little bit smart. That doesn't prove I'm smart. It doesn't prove I'm not stupid.
just remember, even if it's hard right now, and even if you're not believing it, I want you to hold this as a truth that trumps all others. That whatever you're believing about yourself, you're not seeing it correctly. I am telling you with absolute certainty, I have no doubt about this. If you're believing one of these self-limiting beliefs and you're like,
No, I think it really is true about me.
and you haven't done some deplorable thing, like you're not like some serial killer, or you don't just like go around knocking on everyone, then I'm here to tell you right now, I know for a fact, very confidently, I'm telling you, it is not true. So just remember that. Your experiences and your trauma and what you have been through is lying to you right now. So you have a skewed version and a skewed view on the matter, a skewed view of yourself. And it's just going to take a little bit more effort to get yourself out of that. But it's not true, okay? The opposite is true. And I'm here to tell you that definitively, all right? So please remember that if this is going to be an area of struggle for you. Okay? 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 Bestie? You are worth it. You're worth it. Maybelline. Oh no. That's... maybe she's born with it. What's she's worth it? You're worth it. Give it to me, I'm worth it. That's the Pussycat Dolls. Give it to me, I'm worth it, right? What am I? You're worth it. Okay? End of story. Period. Don't come on my channel arguing with me, okay? Don't even. Because you're worth it. L'Oreal. L'Oreal. Because you're worth it. Thank you. And also it's Fifth Harmony, not Pussycat Dolls. Damn it. You are worth it. Okay? Now, you're going to come up with your evidence. Try to, if you can get 8 to 10, great. If you want to write more, please do so. If you can't get to 8 to 10 and you can only get 3, do your best to get 3. Okay? You're going to start there. And you're going to come up with pieces of evidence that prove the opposite thought is true. And then you're going to write them down. And then you're going to read them to yourself. And as you read over these beautiful pieces of evidence, you're going to really get that emotional imagery going. Whatever you need to do that's going to make you feel the most pumped up and in a state of kind of like a joy or a euphoria and a nostalgia, a reflection of happiness, okay? So if you need to like get in a relaxed position, or if you want to stand up and jump around, if you want to, I don't know, like if you want to go full-blown party mode and go get confetti and balloons, and every time you do this exercise, you're gonna like shoot off the confetti and you're gonna be like,
My brother called me yesterday and remembered to say hi to me because I am important.
whatever you need to do. But mostly you just want to provoke an emotion of joy, of immense happiness, of a lot of euphoria, a lot of just goodness. You want to try to think of pleasantness, bliss, everything. Like that's a positive emotion surrounding you, thinking about times when you were the opposite of the bad belief, when you were the new replaced belief, when you had evidence of that. And you're going to imagine in your mind, in your mind's eye, you're going to imagine when that was really happening in the court of law. You are innocent until proven guilty. It is the burden of the prosecution to prove their case. And you can't be convicted if there is reasonable doubt. And so this is going to be your reasonable doubt. If you have even one piece of evidence that is reasonable doubt, then you cannot say that these are absolutely true. You cannot be sure. You cannot convict. Okay? So it's like that. All right? So you're going to go through that mental process there. And then once you have convinced yourself that they in fact cannot be true for sure, you are then going to start the process that is going to reprogram these beliefs. And this process is known as auto-suggestion. This is the meat and potatoes, guys, so get ready. You want to use a term that makes sense to you, first of all. So, like, I'm looking up antonyms for abandoned, and it's like, I am cherished, I am maintained. Like, of course, yeah, maintained is the opposite of abandoned, but you're not going to teach your subconscious.
I am maintained.
Like, that's just doesn't make a lot of sense. So it's okay if you change the statement a bit. It doesn't have to be I am, but it can be I am worth committing to. I am worthy of loyal, long-lasting love. It doesn't have to be just one word, okay? So you just make it make sense to what you actually need to believe about yourself and what is actually true. This is where we are going to recall how your subconscious is programmed and what language it speaks. So remember that you need to speak to it in emotion. And if the emotion is not occurring at the moment, then you need to provoke the emotion and you need to imagine it with emotional imagery. So imagining a time in your brain, taking yourself back to that place when that emotion was occurring and feeling those feelings again in your body and visualizing them and being in that moment present and having that height of emotion. And then repetition. So it's going to have to happen consistently. Many, many, many times until your subconscious just goes click and it goes, okay, I see, I'm picking up what you're putting down. And it goes do, 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 and it saves the file away in the permanent folder, and then you don't have to think about this process anymore. It's just going to be in there. It seems fairly easy, right? So how do we make this happen, though? You just want to think of it logistically. Just remember that each opportunity to do this is going to be a point of repetition. So each time that you can enact this process, you're going to be having that repetition. And that's going to put you one step closer to achieving it as a program. So you're going to want to do this one anytime you want. So anytime that you want to practice this, you can do that. You can set yourself a goal each day of I'm going to reflect 3 different times throughout my day. I'm going to reflect on a situation that, unless I'm triggered, and then that will count as one. So you can do like real-time triggers and a reflection if you didn't have enough triggers. So if you're not getting triggered like quite enough, which is, I guess, good. But if you're not, then you want to enact a retro trigger. So thinking about a time recently. And you want to just think about that moment and reflect on it. And then you want to do that a certain number of times per day. So you can do those 2 things. And then anytime that this happens, where you find yourself thinking that thought, Maybe you're not going to call it a full-blown trigger. Maybe you're just literally thinking that thought. Maybe you're having a conversation with somebody and you just made a little mistake and you think in your head like,
gosh, I'm so stupid.
Or you start saying something bad about yourself and you realize that you're talking to yourself rudely and you're stating this belief in some form or another. Anytime that one of these thoughts goes through your head of these beliefs, you're going to interrupt that thought immediately. You're going to tell it, please. You're going to halt, sir. Halt. Unhand my brain, thank you. And you're going to interrogate it, and you're going to say, excuse me, hi. Can I be sure that that is true? And the answer is going to be no, because it's a liar. And you're going to be like, oh, okay, well, then what is actually true, stupid thought, is, and you're going to say out loud, if you can. I mean, I don't know where you'll be, but it's nice to say it out loud. You can say it in your head if you need to. If you've said the belief out loud, then you want to correct it out loud. Like if you're just like, God, I'm so stupid, you're going to immediately stop and be like, I'm sorry, no. Can I be sure that that is true about me? No, I know that that is not true about me. What I meant to say is I am very intelligent and I am smart about a lot of things. And in this moment, I made a mistake and got the wrong answer, but that's okay because lots of times I get the right answer. And then, so that's how you do that. You're going to interrupt. You got to make sure that you are absolutely interrupting anytime this thought is no longer allowed to cross your conscious mind. And so if it comes anywhere into your conscious, it is not welcome here, and you are not going to allow it to take up any space or take up any time here. You're going to very swiftly boot it out the door. It is getting kicked out. It is banned. You have a restraining order against it, and it's getting arrested, okay? Because it's not allowed here anymore. And then you're going to thoroughly convince yourself out loud with the opposite belief that you have replaced it with. So that's the auto-suggestion. You're replacing this belief with something that you want in its place. All right, so you'll then start telling yourself why that's not true and why this is actually true and this is actually what you meant to say. And then what you're going to do, and you can actually do this now, and this might be something that you update ever so often, like every few days, or it might be something that kind of is a staple. And that is, you're going to find the evidence that exists in your life and your experiences that actually shows you that the opposite belief is true, the one that you're replacing it with. So you're going to brainstorm, I would say, 8 to 10 different pieces of evidence. You can come up with a freaking novel of them, okay, if you'd like to. Come up with as many as you want, but amount, I would say, is around 8 to 10 of specific moments where there was evidence that the opposite belief is actually true. There's no time period on it. It's different for every person. I set an initial goal for myself of 21 days. I was going to interrupt every negative thought of one of these that I have, and I was going to act on any triggers that I felt in the moment. I was going to examine every single trigger that I was triggered by. If I didn't have enough triggers that day, if I didn't have at least 3, I was going to reflect on 3 different things, 3 different times that I remember being triggered that I know were tied to one of these beliefs, and I was going to break it down and pull apart what happened there, and I was going to tell myself, put myself in that emotion, and go through that process for around 15 minutes each time, 3 times a day. And I did that for 21 days the first time, consecutively, and I didn't miss a beat. And a couple of the ones that I was focusing on, because I started out doing 3 at a time, and 2 of them, gone. Kaput. Gone. I reprogrammed it. I don't even have to think through the process anymore. I just don't think those thoughts anymore. I don't. They're gone. Okay? The one that's stubborn is the stupid I am not enough. But I'm still working on that one. And I'm gonna get that nasty little thing out of there. But that one's showing to take quite a lot more time and go quite a bit more deep in within me. So that one's going to be more difficult, and that's maybe how some of yours are going to be. But if you stick to it, this is a tried and true method, and I have proof it works because I did it myself. So I'm telling you, it works. I believed in it, so that is why it worked for me. If you feel like this is something that you can believe in and you can get on board with, then get on the journey with me now. Let's go. Let's get these beliefs out of here. It's time for them to go. They need to get evicted. They need to go. They are very rude and they need to go. So I'm going to run through a very quick recap before I let you go today, okay? Step 1, figure out what your self-limiting beliefs are. You can look to your triggers. You can look to events, important things that have happened in your life throughout the years that you were going for a different outcome and that didn't quite happen. It was very disappointing. You want to look for a pattern. What is the same? Then you're going to get those self-limiting beliefs listed out, and then you're going to pick the most important one to focus on. You're going to put that one at the forefront of your mind for the next 21 days. You're going to, every single time, well, first you're going to take that belief and you're going to interrogate it and you're going to say, hey, can I be certain that this is true? And then you're going to get the tried and true answer that comes back, which says, no, I cannot be certain that it is true because it's probably not true. And then you're going to create the opposite of that belief for auto-suggestion. You're going to remain always in the positive. You're not going to say, I am not something. You're going to make sure it's something, I am something. Or you can even change the whole statement. It doesn't have to be I am necessarily. It can be like, I do this or whatever. Something like that. But it needs to be the opposite of the belief you're getting rid of. Okay? And then make sure it sounds realistic to how you will understand it. And then you're going to, every time you get triggered, you're going to make sure you do this process where you come up with somewhere around 8 to 10 different pieces of evidence for each belief where the opposite is actually true. So you're going to look at recent things that have happened that show to you that the opposite of that bad belief is actually true. Your new belief that you're putting in place. You're going to put yourself in those times where that belief proved to be true, the opposite belief was true, and you're going to feel those emotions. You're going to reflect in that emotional imagery. You're going to get into those heightened state of emotions, very excited. You're going to put yourself into that position for 21 days. I suggest 3 times a day. And you're going to repeat that new belief to yourself time after time after time after time after time. You're going to beat it into your head, okay? While experiencing emotional imagery and emotions surrounding that belief and surrounding the evidence that that belief is true, the new one. Okay? And you're going to continue to do that for at least 21 days and see where you are after that. And then you're going to do it until you no longer have to enact that process. You're just automatically thinking the good thought. You're automatically thinking the new belief, and you'll notice that. Ta-da! You did it! You're just going to be very happy. You're going to celebrate. I'm very excited to see how this goes for you. Thank you so much for tuning in today for, I believe, my most important episode I've ever done. And I hope that you will get something out of this and that this can change your life the way that it's changed mine. And don't forget, I freaking love you. Okay? You're literally so cool. You're literally so amazing. I'm literally so lucky to have you as a friend, and maybe leave me a comment or something if we're friends. I don't know. All right, guys. I will see you next time. Bye!